For after that, in the wisdom of Yahweh, the world by wisdom knew not Yahweh. It pleased Yahweh by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe. So in order for you to understand this mystery, the Bible, the understanding of the Bible, the compositions of books, one must have the knowledge, the wisdom, the hidden treasure, like you see in this picture, which is the wisdom, the knowledge and understanding. And only the elect can understand that. And the elect is the 12 tribes of Israel, which consists of the so-called African American blacks, the so-called Hispanics, so-called Haitians, so-called Jamaican, so-called Native American Indians, and so-called Latinos. And our confusion of faith, brothers and sisters, they're scattered among the other nations. They even look like the other nations. They even speak their tongue, because you're gonna have Israelites that are scattered abroad, every nation. That's why you go into James 1:1 to the 12 tribes that are scattered abroad greeting. You know. And as I go forward in this lesson, this is part two. And we giving all honor, praise, and glory to our Heavenly Father Yahweh and His Holy Precious Son Yahweh Shah, Mashiach. And also much respect to the Final Father True Fighter One West. We're just picking up from part two. And let's get the second verse, another verse here as it relates to the title of this lesson. The title of the lesson is "You Don't Take This for Granted," which is the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding. But we preach. Okay, let me get that. Let me get the understanding real quick. It says, "But we here go Salakia. But unto them which are called both Jews and Greeks," this Greeks is talking about Israelites that took on Greek customs, going right back to James 1:1 to the 12 tribes that are scattered abroad. And remember, they became Gentiles. They became Gentiles, just like before we came into the knowledge of that we was Israelites. We was in a Gentile state of mind. We didn't take on the customs of Judah or being called a Jew, because why, our identity got hid from us. And how do one prove that? Go to Matthew 15, verse 24. Yahweh Shai, our King of Kings, he said, "I'm only sent into the lost sheep of the house of Israel." Because why? We was lost because we lost our identity and heritage of who we were. The rulers and the kings and the priests of this earth. We lost that status. But we preach Slakia. But Slakia, let's go to, because okay, okay. But into them that which are called both Jews and Greek, Slakia, Yahweh Shah is the power of Yahweh in the wisdom of Yahweh. That's why we can't take this for granted, you know. And all the things that can be compared to it, nothing can be compared to it, because wisdom is the principal thing, you know. And the Most High love those who dwell with wisdom. Hey, to be honest with you, we're going to be saved by wisdom, because remember, wisdom is the power, Yahweh Shah is the power of God and the wisdom of God. So unless you have the knowledge, the wisdom, understanding of these scriptures and the mysteries of this Bible, you won't be delivered. Because let's prove that. Let's prove that. How do you want to prove that? You know, unless you claim, or I mean, I'm talking about the women. Unless a man of the Lord claim you, or but for you men, we must have this knowledge, this wisdom, and understanding, because that's the only way to get to the tree of life is through Yahweh Shah. So we're gonna read Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9, verse 18. I'm gonna close it out. This is part two. I advise you, brothers and sisters, please watch the beginning of the lesson. I have the first video that goes into this lesson, so it's two parts. So this is the second part, and the first one, which I did recently. So I advise you, new brothers and sisters, please check that out so you can get the full understanding. I'm trying to work on getting my phone situated, or my computer situated where I'm not able to be cut off for some of these lessons, so it can be just one straight class. But I hope you brothers and sisters bear with me. I'm working on getting that done. But just going right back into the lesson here, it says that For so the ways of them which have lived on the earth were reformed. Now, those who they lived on the earth, which was reformed. How was they reformed? By the knowledge, the wisdom of the Most High. And these people, these men, these great men that was reformed was Israelites, and they was the chosen. You know, I mean, even from Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. I mean, all these great men, even always back during the time of Noah. And even though the 12 tribes wasn't set up back then, but Noah was part of the elect because why? He had wisdom. So even goes back as far as that time. You know, you know. So wisdom was in the beginning. It tells you about that in the book of Proverbs, I believe, the 8th chapter. How wisdom was in the beginning. You know, how the Most High he possessed her in the day of old. The day of old was the beginning of time. You know, and that goes right actually in the scriptures where it says Yahweh Shai is the author and the finisher of our faith because he's the beginning and the end, Alpha and Omega. So, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9, verse 18, is going right back into the precept of the lesson here. It says, For so the ways of Yahweh which lived on the earth were reformed. How they was reformed? By wisdom. And men were taught the things that there are pleasing unto thee and were saved through wisdom. That's why we can't take wisdom for granted. Because they were saved through wisdom. That's why wisdom is important. It really comes down to if you have wisdom or not. That's really what's going to boil down to. Do one have wisdom, knowledge, and understanding? Do one have knowledge, wisdom, and understanding? Because when you have wisdom, she will promote you. And part of being promoted is receiving that royal crown, that the King of Kings will give to the hopeful elect, and that's what we're striving for, So I just want to touch on that real quick. And so yeah, we can't take this truth, this wisdom, this knowledge, understanding for granted, you know, And I hope this lesson is very edifying because his wisdom is more precious than anything we can imagine, you know. And wisdom worketh all things. We just read that earlier. So with that, I want to give all honor, praise, and glory to our Heavenly Father Yahweh, also the true Olivet beside the King of Kings, royalty himself, Yahweh Shah, Mashiach, also the Final Father, true Father, one West, peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. And with all thou getting, get an understanding. How do one get understanding? Through wisdom.